dance rivalry, Zirene. This is CLG and TSM. These guys have been around in the LCS and just the League of Legends scene forever. So even getting into the playoffs, the win feels great over one of those rivals. We'll see now in Champion Select who really came to play hard. Kali banned out with Rakan and Zoe. A lot of those power picks just knocked out by Chronologic Gaming. As we expect the same from TSM here in a possible Nocturne final ban.
Nocturne Kindred, though, is still left up. You might want to trade 1 for 1. I would believe in that combination. That
or more
Kindred the Kindred is a little bit stronger, in my opinion. So if you want to trade for them, there you go.
It seems like people have been okay with Kindred as of late. Just say, put the Gragas in, knock her out.
Yeah.
A few more of those, but it's all conditional. You're playing to the fact that if you can hit that cask.
Well, also you have to think that Lee Sin is another champion that
absolutely
kind of
we
jumped
saw
up
Levi and a few do that.
Yeah, just because he got buffed, so it's kind of great to play the Lee Sin or the Gragas into it. There's more Kindred counters that are meta or on the fringe of being in the meta, so I think that's a good take there. And also right here for TSM, I think this is a really good pickup.
It has to feel good. Stixxay's been doing well on Varus throughout the middle, not as of late, but to take that away from him and not have to ban something out of his position, like you said, great for TSM.
Yeah, one, you take away something from Biofrost that he's pretty good on,
and
you give yourself a more offensive bottom lane. We were seeing like Ezreal, Tom Kent just come out from the TSM bottom lane. This gives them some ways to start the fight off with the ultimate, the Chain of Corruption, and then also some lane presence. And this is interesting from CLG because, sure, the Tristana will scale, right? Crit Marksman got all of these buffs in terms of the item cost went down, so you get the passives and the synergy of the 2-3 items faster. Your 6-item spike is a little bit worse because there's some base stats taken off of it. But when you get to those 2-3 item spikes, that's where you really shine. And Tristana is one of those champions that received great kind of win rate buffs because of that. And I'm interested here in particular because Varus historically is a good matchup into Tristana's lane phase.
Yep. Let's see how Stixxay does on it. Haven't seen CLG kind of spread too much from that bot lane marksman for him. So they're locking it again. Gragas is locked in for that Kindred pick as we discussed before with second ban phase now in the hands of TSM to start.
When you're talking about Stixxay on the Tristana, I just remember that call from Mandalay Bay Finals, TSM versus CLG, Game 5, Stixxay popping off on the Tristana and Freak, ruining his voice for that call. This is a champion that Stixxay really, when he first burst into the professional scene, was just dominating on, and people were saying, oh, this is a champion alongside Caitlyn that he is really proficient on.
Stixxay's shown a very high play on the Ezreal, the Caitlyn, the Tristana. So it's interesting to see what you'll definitely get out of him in a week if he's going to explode. It's hard to stop.
And when you're talking about CLG have kind of good early games, right? They have highest first blood participation, especially for ReignOver in the entire league. And this has been kind of an issue of their mid-late game. Tristana's great mid-late game. So if you can make it to mid-late game, have early game leads, then this champion will thrive. So they're drafting a little bit more for that. Not the Kalista that we had seen that falls off, right? It's the Tristana that's going to scale incredibly well. And as these bans come out, things like the Zillion being banned away from Huhi, just kind of saying, nope, no Zillion Kindred combination like the analyst was talking about that Cloud9 had.
You play to that, you say to the late game too, where Stixxay can go with that Tristana. That's where TSM loves to be. They said, well, if we don't really like the early game, we're going to extend this another 15 to 20 minutes. We'll out macro you, and we'll find that fight when you're trying to get to Baron. If you want to close out the game, we'll close it out on you with just that fight. How do they round out the rest of it? Yeah, Syndra's still up. Bjergsen has an easy pick there to help control the mid lane and also bring that impact, the possible impact plays to this game.
Yeah, and the Fizz was banned away and the LeBlanc. These are actually two champions that are pretty good into Syndra, especially the Fizz is a hard counter, and Fizz got massive buffs where his solo queue win rate jumped about 5 to 6%. So the Syndra, though, is one that also got buffs to the base damage of her orbs of her Q. So her early wave clear and harass and trading potential is higher. So we're going to see Bjergsen on this signature comfort Syndra that's in a powerful state right now, especially the early parts of the game.
Tidlia left up along with quite a few others, and she does get sorted into the mix here, along with ChoGath. See quite a bit more of him towards the top side of the map, and he will be locked in for Darshan this game as his champion pool keeps getting more versatile. Mundo, the possible lock-in here for Hauntzer. Some safe play. I always remember Hauntzer on the Poppy, but they got most of their composition locked in. That would work good with Mundo.
Yeah, the Mundo would basically just say, all right, only going to take some magic damage. You can itemize towards it, but if you want to split push and control your side lanes,
the Gnar,
way more aggressive.
Yeah.
Something that you can actually control the side lanes on. And when TSM are getting split pushed to death by a team like Echo Fox, want to practice that up during the week. Make sure that you've shored up that weakness. the way you were exploited last time. And so TSM now have a shoving mid lane. They have themselves a jungler that can kind of counter the other jungle in terms of the ultimate. They have an aggressive bottom lane that can make plays, and then they have a split pusher for Hauntzer. CLG, they get to play off of mid lane. This is Huhi being the pivot. Huhi, ReignOver need to team up and go to the side lanes and try to figure out how they're going to get these guys ahead.
Now, my question for CLG is, you kind of say how they're supposed to win. Is this a composition that stops the bleeding for CLG's loss streak? Is this something you feel like they can put onto that podium here against TSM?
Well, I would say yes, because Huhi has actually been performing quite well in the last few weeks, despite the fact that they were losing. Take out his Renekton and Kled games, and the Orianna 3-1-3 in a loss. The Galio 1-2-4. His Ryze 7-3-8.
All right.
And then a 0-1-3 Ryze. Huhi has been one of the better and more consistent performers on this team, giving him a Taliyah, where his biggest strength as a player is playing Aurelion Sol, going to the side lanes. Taliyah right up that alley. So they're going to use Huhi as the pivot here to go to one of the side lanes, potentially both of them, and try to set up the team for success. And it also makes split pushing a little harder as the Gnar.
Things are getting tighter as we head towards the end of the split. At 14 wins, a 5-9 Chronologic Gaming, and 6-8 TSM look to bolster the win record just a little bit more. A loss here means some pretty tough things for either team. A win puts them that much closer to finding that playoff spot.
In CLG, they have the second easiest remaining schedule, where there's pretty much one team that could maybe take them down in the top of the standings in terms of FlyQuest. They play Clutch, Golden Guardians that are below them or near them, and TSM as well. So this is CLG potentially making a miracle run and going 9-9 at the end. And TSM have 100 Thieves and Liquid, which are the top two teams right now. And then they have CLG and Optic. If you lose to CLG here, you're going to have to perform better than your schedule indicates your level is at in order to take down the two teams that are 3 or 4 wins ahead of you in the standings.
Right.
So for CLG, it could be the start of the miracle run here to finish off the split and cut that 6-game losing streak and make playoffs. And for TSM, it's making sure they set themselves up so that those next few games, they don't have to be at 110% and play above the level that they've currently been, because they've set themselves up for success.
Well, for CLG, we usually see that miracle run or righting of the ship when they're at 500, kind of the middle of the season. They have a bit of an up and a down, but this is much later. The time to repair, there's so much more stress on it. So you really have to dig deep and find what used to happen in the middle of the season right now.
Yeah, it's the historic, dreaded CLG mid-split slump.
Too much faith early.
Yeah, sometimes it happens at the very beginning. Sometimes this split, there was like a good start to them. They were tied first. Then it was just this slump that it's been 3 weeks. It's been a month right now for Counterlogic Gaming, where they haven't been able to pick up those wins. And 3 0-2 weekends for this organization. Something that they're looking at going, well, we need to shift things. And that's why things like Ziggs being let go after so many years are not completely unprecedented, I would say. It's something where replacing the coach sometimes helps, because maybe he's not fitting the players anymore.
And these teams, they've been in these positions. That's why they kind of hold the monikers they do, and the titles that also CLG has, is they can right the ship in these certain situations. They find the errors, they correct them in time. Against TSM, it's definitely going to be harder here towards the end of the split, as they've kind of the same record. 2 wins in their last 8 games of 2-6, so both are trying to stop the bleeding but start the wins. TSM with a push on the bottom as we start things off.
The last 4 weeks for both these teams have been really up and down, and for CLG especially, it's been pretty down. Like you said, both teams in their last 8 games are 2-6. So if you're going back 4 weeks, taking the whole month into perspective, then it has not been a good one for them at all.
But back to Wheelhouse, right? Back to the Syndra, back to things that feel good for Huhi, where he can roam. All that comfort. And try to start off week 8 here for both teams. Just coming up on 3 minutes. Bot side push for TSM, top side for CLG. So the junglers, if they really want, have a few things to think about, but staying all quiet as they just keep themselves on either side.
Yeah, Grig actually went for a full top side clear there of his jungle, which is a little bit unusual. You don't always completely clear that out, but then he gets the bottom scuttle, which is a little surprising. But
oh boy! Ooh, did he want to shove him that much closer? The heal's there for Bjerg. Can't take too many turret shots. Airy comes through. He knows Grig is just around the corner, but ReignOver has an eye on that, so Huhi has to hover a little more towards the top side. Good aggression here. Kind of gives the advantage to TSM for vision.
Yeah, and Bjergsen, he has heals, so he can actually get some extra movement speed and kind of change, I would say, his health pool relative to Huhi's in a 1v1, but Huhi has the cleanse, which isn't useful against the Syndra except for getting out of the stun if you think you're going to get locked down. But by that time, usually she'll already have pressed the R on you.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is for the later parts of the game where you can get stunned up and you need the mobility versus the Braum and the Varus. And so far, it's been pretty good from Bjergsen in the mid lane on that Syndra that got buffed.
Quick clear, as you can see, Huhi's like, I'm just pushed into my turret right now, especially after that aggression we saw. But a lot of these attacks from Bjergsen back to the caster wave, cutting the wave immediately, forcing Huhi to farm on your turret. He says, you want to leave lane, it's going to be a bit harder this game. Good pressure from Hauntzer, top 30-33 in CS there as Darshan has a slight lead, but everything's really there in front of them to be picked up as they... Nice dancing. I like it.
Yeah, Hauntzer had to lose some CS because he had to play back. Grig was clearing the top side and then was going to the opposite. And they had ReignOver who had gotten the top scuttle crab. So CLG were playing to the top side. TSM were just clearing the top side jungle. So it's appropriate from Hauntzer to sacrifice the CS and back up.
Ooh, Bjergsen as well. Two dematerializers used.
Yes.
So he's looking to push in quite quick as these lanes come up. He just used another one too.
Yeah, you were just talking about how keeping Huhi shoved under turret is going to stop him from roaming. That's exactly what the doctor ordered here for Bjergsen. Who has the dematerializer to make it so that he can clear those waves out very quickly, get roam priority, and also make it so that he can match the Taliyah in the mid game.
Look at that wave crashing into mid turret. Usually you see a teleport back there right quick, but neither mid laner has that. Bjergsen has the safe return to lane without losing anything, and he'll actually have a bit of a stacked wave here as Huhi's going to pile it in. Probably slow farm. Maybe he doesn't know if Bjergsen's going to be back just yet. Seems like ReignOver doesn't mind though. Even without vision on Bjergsen, he wants to get in fast and get in some vision.
He's tracking Grig pretty hard, but
they see each other now.
Yep, they see each other.
It's a little game of
Hello?
dance.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because Taliyah's roaming up, so
Yeah.
Grig can't actually contest this. Bjergsen has to catch the wave and then roam.
Feels bad, man. Waste of gold. Good clear, good pressure. ReignOver now gets in the face of Grig. That was the pressure here, kind of on the bottom side of the jungle to start things off as Bjergsen won the early push in lane. Grig now returns, and we'll see just a few Raptors left.
Yeah, it's interesting because Grig is playing to the top side of the map when his bottom side is actually the stronger lane with the Varus and the Braum. So playing to that lane would actually be better. It's also the side of Dragon, but he has a split push top. Boy, Bjergsen caught out
Flash
though.
over the wall. Actually, ultimate's going to be over onto ReignOver. Fast damage coming in. They flash for Grig. Oh, leapfrogs on Huhi. Bjergsen's back and forth denying vision with the pink, but Huhi's still able to get the kill and a little retribution there for ReignOver in the 1-for-1 first blood.
And Bjergsen, I think he screwed up his flash there. He went right into the bush instead of over.
You are correct, sir.
So Bjergsen's had a few flashes like that this split. And once again, though, we'll see this here. Bjergsen goes into the brush. It looks like he actually, I don't know if the vision had toggled fast enough, but it looked like they spotted ReignOver, gets pushed over by Huhi, who almost has no mana.
Damage.
Goes after him.
Fast ult.
And then ReignOver flashes, Bjergsen flashes as well, into the bush instead of up, which I think is what he was aiming for, but it's a little too far away from the wall there. So it ends up being a 1-for-1, but I actually think that helps Huhi a decent amount, because Huhi gets the kill, Bjergsen gets the kill, but Huhi was down 10 CS, but now he gets to shove the lane and get a free recall off that.
Quickly into a pause out of that play as a fly is bothering ReignOver currently on stage.
So I just got informed the fly is in his keyboard.
That's interesting.
What?
Interesting.
That's a brave fly. Like, some flies are just born without like any kind of fear of anything. You can just put your hand next to it. You're like, why are you not scared? What is going on? What? It's like a broken fly.
It's the real bug that we have currently preventing the game.
There's a bug on stage.
And if you just press W, it's a bug splat.
Oh, no.
I'd rather get that out, though. You don't really want that getting it. So we got keyboard pullers, get some keys off, and then we'll be back in. But good 1-1 already in the mid lane. Grig, ReignOver have already been in each other's face here to start. Oh, my God.
It's moved over to Stixxay.
It's in my shirt. I think he's okay. He's like, oh, no, that was just the emblem.
I wonder how you like actually go, okay, it's completely resolved. It's like, where's the body? Show me the body.
It's on the floor. Wait. Get it. Somebody's going to get hit. It's going to fly right by some glasses.
Yep. Get him, ref. Get him, ref.
Oh. Yeah! The flyby spraying. You have been approved for a flyby, Donald. Fantastic.
Oh, no.
Man,
That's incredible. That's incredible.
that's interesting.
Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, I think it's like, if it happens again, because, you think you've killed the fly, you're like, oh, it's gone, it's gone. You wait like 2 minutes.
He's bringing more back, buddy. You don't even know.
All right. Seems like the bug on stage has been resolved. We're getting back into game.
We are onto the rift. Where many creatures live simultaneously with the players. I don't know why this can't be a thing in real life. It's all right. That's why we live in the game as long as we do. Makes things better. Hauntzer teleport back towards the top side. You can see Darshan actually starting to chomp things up as he uses his ultimate to get himself a little bit bigger.
And actually has a decent CS lead here for Darshan. Up
Yeah,
about 15. There's a wave to get caught here by Hauntzer. But they both use their teleport, and it's just been pressure for Darshan. Because Grig, his bottom lane is the one that's 10 CS up. His mid lane is the one that he wants to play to. So Grig kind of has to play to Bjergsen's Zven based off of jungle dynamics and pressure. But it's a Gnar top lane versus a ChoGath. You want to go to this lane, ward for it, and make sure it's safe, because otherwise Hauntzer can't pass the halfway point. You see the control wards for CLG on the top half of the map?
Yeah.
They will spot Grig going for almost anything in the top side. So Darshan gets to push without worry. So Darshan gets to pressure the Gnar the entire time, and Hauntzer has to fear ganks.
It really extends that rule. It's kind of like, don't cross the river alone, even in lane. Farm as slow as you can. Don't even be on your own side alone.
It's Stixxay.
Remember, the teleports aren't really around the map for the rest of them, so they pull the bot lane up here for a moment. Biofrost is in mid.
Hello?
Good tank by Darshan. They're not going to be able to get in long enough as ReignOver wasn't there with 6 yet. A little too quick of an activation alerts Hauntzer to everything that's going on. They'll have the turret to themselves now. We'll have to see what Grig does if he heads towards bottom.
But they're going to get this turret faster because this is CLG. This is so good because what they're doing is they're saying, well, we're losing the bottom lane slowly but surely. Instead, abandon it. Abort. Get out. Go somewhere else. They swap the lanes with the teleport, and there's no teleport on Zven. He took heal for lane dominance, and that's first turret for CLG off of a quick swap.
The kill doesn't even have to be there for them. Hauntzer can get out, and this kind of facilitates what you know CLG for. Rotating early, taking down the map, and opening things up on their terms to make the next move. That Tristana pick, we haven't seen a Demolitionist in quite some time, drops turrets. We'll see if they can keep doing it. Ocean Drake does go in favor of TSM early to help out a little bit in the laning phase, which just cracked. And we'll have to see how both teams respond.
Yeah, that was really, honestly, incredibly well done there for CLG to get out of something that was kind of a slow bleed for them. And it accelerates the mid game, too. Because now the Tristana is going to get to a point where she'll have more gold. She'll be able to kind of just come online, get her items, and then be ready to roll. So I really like that, kind of infusing the game with gold, right? If everybody gets 1,000 more gold, the people who scale with it better benefit more, even though it's 1,000 for everybody.
It does feel good. And players want to feel your energy as well. Spam those chats. CLG TSM. Do it on your phone right now. Take it out. Pay attention, but do it on your phone. It's okay. 10 minutes on the clock. 1-1 in those turrets. Just throwing the gold in the right pockets is what they need now. They're hoping to keep Stixxay safe, but also play him on a little bit of a bait here. Biofrost says we have you protected with ReignOver just in the wing as well. But TSM, they're not biting so much.
Yeah, remember the vision control that we were talking about earlier.
Call.
It's all been for CLG on the top side, and it's been hard for TSM to do anything up here because they're not playing to Hauntzer. They're kind of abandoning Hauntzer despite him being a split push champion. And so there's been way more control here on the side of CLG on that top half. And they gave up the Ocean Drake to TSM. Ooh. But look, that is so close. It's actually insanely close.
Same game. Close vote, close game. I wonder when it's going to break open. Kind of what do you see at this point? Do you think Rift Herald is going to be that first one, or does somebody give it up because CLG has that pressure on the top side?
I'm unsure of who's exactly going to get it because it relies on which jungler is going to be on that side at the time. So I think something has to happen here to kind of break it open. Grig does have ultimate. He can potentially go for Huhi, who doesn't have flash for a few more seconds. But CLG, they just have control, and you can see TSM are wrestling it back right now. Because control will wax and wane based on how many people you bring to a certain area.
I think they just got an eye behind Dragon on ReignOver. He knows they come up now, so they can't instantly start it. But you're right. Quick time used there to deny vision and gain their own security system around Rift Herald, and TSM feels a little more comfortable now. As they head back to lane, a small rotation from Darshan before his teleports up means he's going to be there first if anything does happen. Looks like everybody's okay with being calm. Really? They'll say, well, you put your wards down, we'll take it back once more and try to rush this. And with Darshan roaming, I feel like they're going to have the upper hand here.
Yeah, Darshan is there, so they don't have Hauntzer at all.
Nice
There's
wall.
the wall. It doesn't accomplish too much. No, it's still going to get in if they want it, but here comes Hauntzer. Kind of stolen on over.
TSM has responded
Grig.
quicker than they thought. Whoa, Grig getting very caught. There's the heal, quickly saving him from Bjergsen. The fight on the top side, you see Zven very low, trying to backpedal. Piercing arrow almost takes down ReignOver. Finally gets that Lamb's respite out.
Whoa.
Shelly is just pimped right now. And it looks like they need to get out before she actually takes somebody down.
I've never seen that before. She just
Like, whoa.
she lost her mind. Oh my god.
Good push by Hauntzer. Focus on the bottom. Will be caught up by Darshan here. And it looks like CLG is going to start topside. We'll see how they repair both of these pushes.
So another stack for ReignOver there. It looks like that's his first one of the game.
It is,
yeah. It is
one
his first
on the
one.
bot side.
It's kind of rough because what he did is he took the top scuttle and then at the very first one, and then if you don't get a scuttle crab on your first mark, they only spawn on scuttle crabs. So from that point forward, from that point forward, if the enemy team can actually go to whichever scuttle crab is spawning, Kindred can never get a mark. Because you 100% know where the mark is spawning. Just keep killing scuttle crabs. It cannot spawn on anything but a scuttle crab for the first mark.
Picking up a few of those definitely help against this team. Trying to get close to Bjergsen, Zven, even mithy, you get caught with that cussed blow, or your Winter's Bite, I should say. You're just locked up right away. Slowly moving in, another Ocean Drake coming up, which would really benefit TSM to just stay out, keep these lanes pushing. It seems like they're absorbing a lot of what CLG's doing right now, so the Ocean Drake is really benefiting them already.
Yeah, the Ocean Drake will help Hauntzer in the split push, but it also means that you get to siege for a bit longer and fish for those poking arrows, fish for the chains of corruption, or even just, I would say, Bjergsen Scattered the Weak is kind of the biggest one. CLG's engage is basically Biofrost with the Hex Flash and the Flash and Headbutt Pulverize, or Huhi laying down a wall. Huhi right now actually very low on mana. He'll contribute a tiny bit to this fight. His ability is going to have to be very impactful if they do go for something here.
Mid lane's going to get a slow push here. If they try to get onto the Rift Herald, ReignOver is just getting a cheeky smite, and if he can stop it, they push mid in. They're going to be going for Herald. And it is not picked up just yet. About 45 seconds on that to play around, and it could definitely escalate into another fight. Looks like they'll leave it for now, or Grig's gonna...
Oh, Grig, is this
he's gonna...
TSM jungler sacrifice?
They're waiting. Biofrost is like, do it.
Yeah,
Oh, now they see him. No! Yeah, ReignOver's hatching a ward too.
The Hex flashed away.
I love the fact that Rift Herald, actually the eye of the Herald stays that long. It's so fun.
It like looks at the nearest person like, are you gonna pick me up? Come here.
It does look at the nearest person.
Biofrost, please.
Never noticed that.
Come here. Oh.
All right, so after the game, we are right now going to check in with Dash to figure out what's going on then.
Thank you very much, Riv. After the game, Echo Fox's Smoothie joins the State Farm analyst desk to break down these two NALCS giants battling for their playoff lives. Be sure to join us.
Get some Smoothie insight as we head into those final games of the day. Always great to hear from the professional players, especially this late in the season, because you get an insight into the intensity and kind of what everybody's going through in every single play. And there is the Ocean Drake being locked down by TSM. Another one for them. Nicely pressuring the game and able to do, like you said, a little more lane work for Hauntzer and being safe in that process.
Yeah, and so Hauntzer's now at a point where once he completes the Black Cleaver, he'll be able to pressure Darshan, who the ChoGath kind of gets these patchwork items at first. He needs the armor, he needs the HP, gets himself things like the Righteous Glory. And it's just to get him into these fights, because the engage from CLG, like we said before, is really on Biofrost. You see mobility boots, making sure that he has the Hex Flash so he can fly to go for plays.
Yeah.
So that's really what they're relying on is Biofrost against his old team to kind of pull the trigger and be the one who starts those mid-game fights for Counter Logic Gaming.
Slow going out of the base right now. Darshan cleans up a few items for himself. A little more magic resistance there so he can participate in the overall fight while already having his Righteous Glory finished. few more items around. How much gold Huhi had? Actually, not too much. Just finished up that item, so core items not coming in necessarily late, but not as quick as they would want that clip for sure. You can see Bjergsen already building a recipe for its second power.
Let's see what he ends up getting there. A lot of times, people go for the penetration items afterwards, Oblivion Orb, but that maybe just a...
Patience is a virtue.
Okay, yep. He's like, this is going to happen again. That's a TP from Stixxay to rotate. They're just abusing the teleports to move around the map and try to knock these turrets down. That gives them momentum, that gives them pressure, and it can't be matched.
He shoves. He plays on the low side, though, for ReignOver's pressure. Biofrost. Moby boots in from the side. He is a cruising cow right now. And Zven is left alone on the top side. He should be able to trade that turret through. They're going to say focus on that. A ping comes down. But how much do CLG focus on the other side? Without Zven, he actually pulls off right away on that turret because he is needed.
The turret's also not low at all. And now
No, it's not.
CLG get to push up the bottom wave to the tier 2. They get oh, yeah, words. They get to control the bottom side of the map. There we go. They get to control the bottom side of the map, and that'll give them easier access to the mid lane turret.
It is. It becomes so dangerous when you can almost pinch in from, if you would say, like under the wings of that mid lane turret.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because it really does open up more avenues. So you can push up further. The defender's advantage of having kind of a smaller space is only for when the turrets are really aligned, right? So when you have one turret that's sticking out like a sore thumb, like that mid lane one, it becomes harder to defend because they can pinch around it.
It basically becomes like defending a second tier turret. Like, I don't want to do this so much anymore. It's even scarier, actually.
You fall back.
It's like a third tier turret. Oh my word, no. So that one final knockdown should put a good bit of gold in CLG's pocket, and we'll see a few more of these core items getting finished. ReignOver with the QSS.
Well, I think right now they're going to try to go after Hauntzer. Yeah, they're going to go after him here. Hauntzer canceled his recall because Stixxay was walking up, and here's 3 on him.
Going to take him a bit. He's going to go Mega Gnar here for a second. Just get some wallets and some throw. He is getting thrown around himself as he scoops him into the wall. A good kill to Stixxay as he says King Me jumps out of that fight. His Storm Razor finished. Now he can keep going towards others with that Zeal ready to build up. Good damage as TSM focuses topside, knowing they're losing a bit of ground.
Yep, they end up getting that turret for that kill, but the question is how much pressure can they get here off of that? Bjergsen can't make it over, has to flash.
Nice flash.
Well, that's a wide flash, too. Oh,
Oh, Darshan says, no, I have Righteous Glory on. Gonna get the slow and gonna get the silence out. Maybe a chomp coming through will just deny a little bit more time on the map for Bjergsen here, and the double turret dive gets stunned for Darshan. Mithy coming in, and everybody here out of the woodwork for TSM from the left side of the map makes CLG think twice about a mid lane push.
I actually really like Darshan's route out of there because a lot of the time...
It seemed weird, but yeah, he was good to go.
Yeah, if he actually was at the Raptor pit, and then when Bjergsen disengaged, if he went backwards to the left, he would have run into TSM. Yeah. So actually going and committing all the way through, just a really smooth move there and showing that he's very aware of the position that TSM has on the map where they're controlling the top side, and CLG are swapping that for control on the bottom. We find ourselves in an incredibly even game still.
That is. TSM is still trying to get a little bit of the vision pressure forward.
Yeah.
They won't be there to protect it, which means CLG might get it back, but that is the game we play now. Who can get that vision to stick?
Yeah. It's so funny, because when I was watching the TSM Echo Fox game over again, Hauntzer was getting destroyed in terms of Echo Fox were making these really awkward trades where it was like, we're killing your side laner, giving up Dragon and turret for it, but we're doing it. And that just happened again from CLG. They killed Hauntzer because getting ganked by 3 people like that, when there's pressure on your top turret, is a little obtuse. It's something that you don't expect, and it shouldn't be happening from like if there was a book on macro that was written by, you know, the gods.
Like that guy should only see 2 people if he is one by himself.
Yeah,
literally. It's
like maybe send 2 people,
right?
You know, or this shouldn't be happening, kind of thing. So
just ixnay altogether.
Yeah, it's basically you're trading down, right? Because they didn't get much from that. They got control of the bottom side of the map, but the top side is more important right now because Baron was spawning in about 10 seconds when Hauntzer died. So killing Hauntzer is kind of just delaying the inevitable of the split push, but that's what they're kind of going for, is trying to slow that down. Sure, they'll trade objectives for it because they're supposed to be a scaling composition with the Tristana, so trading down is not awful for them, but it's just something that has happened to Hauntzer a lot, is trades that look like they're bad, people will make them against Hauntzer, and especially Echo Fox that we saw, and it catches him off guard because it seems like he's trying to play a clean macro game of this is step 1, 2, and 3, and it's like, wait, why are they doing this? They shouldn't be doing this. Like almost like this team is playing really poorly, but it actually catches him off guard multiple times.
That's the thing, man. It happens in every sport.
That's why it makes it a good move, because they aren't expecting it. If you go by the book, everybody's read the book.
And you can tell who has it. Darshan and the team now getting the Mountain Drake for themselves. This is actually one of the best. Yeah, they might have missed 2 Oceans, but their Tristana just got a rapid-fire cannon, which is a huge item for Tristana in general. And they already have that Demolitionist, so they can start taking down objectives if they do reach them.
Absolutely. It's the best Drake, I would say, for CLG here. Allows them to knock down those turrets, get them to that mid-game, require less time with it. And if they're doing this strategy where Stixxay becomes a split pusher, and then it's the old switcheroo, where he's just like, I'm TPing to the bottom side, can't match this, see ya. Like, that's what they did to get their 2 side turrets. If they're gonna do something like that that's similar again, just to pressure side lanes.
Year of the backdoor games, man. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, but I like it because they pressure one side with the Tristana, shove the wave in, TP to the other side while that wave is being shoved. And so I really like it. I'm trying to come up with a name for this.
You have 3 games.
Yeah, it's like the bait and switch almost.
Absolutely. Let's see if they can do it. That teleport's just about to be up. Biofrost Hex Flash, a lot of level 13s around the Rift, which means you have your second level 5 ability. And now we have level 11 ultimates pretty much capped out for everybody, waiting for that next or 3rd level of it. Mid lane for TSM holds 3 as Bjergsen starts to join them, making it 4 strong. And it looks like CLG feels like that's not going to do too much. Huhi towards the top side to start splitting as Hauntzer's focus has been 110% in this bot lane. Even Darshan is kind of walking out of lane as Hauntzer continues to stay and is only coming up if that teleport is necessary. We even saw CLG just bring the entire team down to Hauntzer. He has a priority, and he is going to continue that split push until TSM get the pressure they want on the other side of the map.
Right now, TSM have actually lost that pressure on the Zirene, like you said. So they have to play kind of up through what they have. Here comes Huhi with the Banshee Veil. Good job by mithy.
Ooh, throw another rock indeed. The Weaver's Wall closes in TSM. A quick kill onto ReignOver. Can't even get the Lamb's Respite out. Now they're going to be killing down onto Biofrost as Huhi and Stixxay must get out of this fight. And they were turned around on immediately.
And that was great. You saw Grig went in there, got the stun onto ReignOver. ReignOver, believe, has a QSS, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because if he got out of it, he was still going to get launched. But hold on.
Darshan coming up, Flash Force there with 200 HP left on the ChoGath. And that bit of left and right, while finally getting Hauntzer into the fight, definitely gives TSM the upper hand now. They finally strung CLG a little bit thin.
That was a perfect play there in terms of execution. They get that mid-turret. And then TSM in a really good spot here. It's just the side lane, side waves. Hold on, TP though. Looks like CLG are gonna counter with a Baron rush here. mithy is the one here to check. It's a ChoGath that has the feast, and if they can keep mithy from checking it, Biofrost, they see him now, there's the TP.
The Mountain Drake and a prayer here with Stixxay trying to kill it with Darshan. TSM gets themselves very quick back. And honestly, CLG is looking for that window. If TSM were to leave it open for a second, man, would that have changed the game. But TSM, no better than that.
Yeah, TSM, mithy doing a great job of checking it and making sure that he's not overcommitting. That's been an issue for TSM in the past. Facing him, this is great, blocking the walls.
It looked good altogether.
And then Grig changes to ReignOver, and that's basically under the 0 there. He got hit by Chain of Corruption, ultimate from Grig, and Bjergsen hit him with a W, I believe, at the same time as a Q there.
So much for QSS.
Yeah, the QSS wouldn't have done it. He had to have QSS flashed away from everything in order to not be destroyed by that.
So you're saying he had a chance?
I'm saying he potentially had a chance, yes.
The hardest one. Oh, Chain of Corruption with a 4-man lockdown. There's the rest of the members as we might see Darshan getting hit out as he skirts back into the Lamb's Respite, keeps himself alive. Focus on a ReignOver as they know he can go down now. Stixxay, and now Biofrost getting hit up as Stixxay's down. The damage is gone, and there goes his support as well as ReignOver and Darshan head to the hill. Huhi can't even deliver back with a blue buff as Bjergsen just continues to take out the members of Counter Logic Gaming. And now TSM is on to Baron.
And they don't have to worry about a TP from Darshan. They don't have to worry about this being stolen away, except for somebody by Huhi, but I don't think it's gonna happen here. TSM are in control of this game now.
2 quick fights in succession for TSM to gain the lead. That mid turret holding for them huge base outside the base, if you will, and they've been able to defend there up to Baron until they get the lead. They find that control back, and now have a 5,000 gold lead. Here's the fight again.
Yeah, starts off with the Chain of Corruption from Zven, which is perfect, but watch what ends up happening here with the damage that he's able to put down. There spreads to ReignOver, and then this piercing arrow across ReignOver is perfectly timed, does half his HP, he has to flash away, and then a Scatter the Weak over the wall from Bjergsen into the Flash R is what ends up spelling his doom. The ultimates there from TSM were on point, especially the Chain of Corruption to lock down ReignOver. And that's the thing, is TSM have struggled to start fights. Their compositions have sometimes lacked engage.
I was just gonna say
right there, that's what they're looking for. The Gragas, the Chain of Corruption from Zven, it's a good suit for them.
The reason why that came up in my mind is because I feel like CLG in that position didn't think Zven even would have had it up again after how fast it was just used. That time passed and he said, yeah, I have it. This is my Ash arrow, basically. And we see TSM, like we said, pulling the trigger where they sometimes hesitate, wait for a mistake, kind of wait for the other team to put themselves out on the limb. Right now, TSM feels comfortable to do all of that swinging on the limb themselves. A 6,000 gold lead now. 3-2 in turrets as they've broken the outer ring, which means they have a faster draw or faster run between each lane. And now they start to defend a bit of this vision. Like they'll trade there.
Hauntzer looks like he's going to go push the mid wave. Huhi can't quite get Zven there with the seismic shove, which would have been really helpful to start a fight off. But yeah, it's going to be Hauntzer split pushing in the mid lane. Huhi's going to go answer since he has the ultimate, and Darshan has no teleport, but they have to seed these objectives.
Two good hits. And right around the horn of these outer turrets. If they had the top wave, they'd be there as well. Where that is pushed in for Counter Logic Gaming. A little breathing room for them with that wave, but a whole bunch of damage. Quite a Baron buff for TSM.
Yeah. So far, they still have a minute and a half left on it. They can get the Ocean Drake reset and have maybe one more wave or two. But that's a good Baron power play from them to crack the game open. They may end up with about 8,000, 9,000 gold as their advantage. Clean the jungle on the way out. And TSM, if they go back to Hauntzer split pushing, who now has a 70 CS gold advantage, 70 CS advantage over his opponent, then he's going to be in a really good spot. He's basically built for the 1v1. If he can get, leave the Rage Blade as the next item here, he'll be sitting pretty and doing a lot of damage to Darshan. And you can basically just leave him to his own devices, and CLG have to deal with him because he's a ticking time bomb.
They don't want to at that point. Who has the hazmat suit? You're gonna have the full team to get that one.
Yeah, that's the thing, is dealing with the Gnar would be difficult. You'd have to have Huhi. He'd be the one with the hazmat suit. He's the one who would have to go in and kind of stop Darshan from dying. But Darshan is really just kind of fodder at this point. He's what you put up against the Gnar to stop him from pushing the entire wave in.
Yeah.
But he's down about 2 levels. He was down 3 just a second ago. So it means that level advantage is actually very much so in favor of Hauntzer.
21,500 or 21. Yeah.
21,500.
21,500. 2,100, I should say.
Gold up?
Yeah.
Ah.
I don't know why I put a half in there. Just felt like adding words. Make it sound very mathematical. Yes. Coming up on 30 minutes. Are they going to be able to take this uncontested? I don't know. CLG would really have to get the perfect engage if they wanted it. Maybe if Huhi was coming from the right, which is warded. A lot of what ifs. And that's then if you're in that position, you know things may have fallen a little too far behind.
Yeah. Stixxay and Huhi are the two who need to kind of save this game for Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah.
If they're going to. Stixxay now with that 3-item spike for Tristana, and he'll get the 100% crit with his next one. He doesn't really need to build a Last Whisperer item immediately because there isn't enough armor to really warrant it. So I would expect him to go for something like a Static Shiv right off the bat after this, or even a Phantom Dancer, who knows. But those are items that will give you the 120% crit, the 100%, and then make it so that you have crits on every shot. But it takes a while to get there. He still needs to get another full item. But there's potential for it. The thing, though, is the person who's kind of out of this game and kind of in a, try to do whatever I can situation is ReignOver. He's 0-3-2. He's got a stopwatch. He's got a QSS. He's going to go for a GA just to survive and get the ultimate off, because it has not been ReignOver's day at all. Playing into the Gragas, which really does shut you down.
Where is?
And he's 1 mark still.
Still 1 mark.
Still got 1 mark.
Still 1 mark.
Because when you start losing the middle part of the game, if you weren't getting those scuttle crabs early, then they aren't moving to other camps. They aren't moving to the bigger camps, and you can't even reach them. So
Gosh, look how proactive TSM is. I mean, look at Mithy's vision score at 81. He's just clearing, finding, placing, and honestly, TSM coming in this late in the season, we've seen changes before, and you can definitely attribute some of those changes to the Weldon pickoff, to the mentality change that TSM can go through within that process.
Oh, Bio!
What a hit from Biofrost going in, a 4-man pulverize. It looks like he could get himself in the frying pan, though, as he's cooked up and spit out his hamburger meat on that one.
Yeah.
A great engage, but TSM able to turn it around.
Yeah, nobody really to follow up there. Didn't have Stixxay in a good enough position, and same with Huhi to actually follow. But they were trying something because Hauntzer, he's Flame Horizon Darshan now. He has his other item. He has the Rage Blade, which makes it so that when he goes up against Darshan in Gnar, you're just chunking out that ChoGath so heavily.
That's the thing. You're almost like, I want to stay in Gnar at this point.
Yeah. But it's a really good item for him. You get to have that passive pretty much every other hit instead of 3. That just works really, really well. It's funny because there's an item that people built on Gnar when he first came out, just to kind of be like, okay, how's this work, you know? Like, when Rage Blade got changed.
Is it good?
How's it work for him? Okay, it feels really squishy. But if you're just playing split push forever, then yeah, it's going to work out for you perfectly. But still over 100 CS up here. And think about what happened in the early parts of the game. Hauntzer had to play so safe. His lane got taken off of a teleport. His other, when he got swapped over,
he was backing off the whole time.
He got, yeah, exactly. Because he's been exploited in that last game that he played over and over again. So Hauntzer playing safe, making sure he's not giving the enemy anything.
A lot of the times it was on the Mundo pick when he was exploited in some of those games. He hasn't played it recently, but you always see him getting picked on before 6 before you can get those ults off.
Yeah, but the last game where he played against EchoFox, he was 3-6-4 on ChoGath. So everyone else on the scene had 2 deaths, 3 deaths.
Ooh, a little back and forth, and Darshan wasn't sure if the follow-up damage would be enough to take him out. Forced a flash there. Stixxay has teleported back into the fray now to see if they can get a fight going. Weaver's wall is up, but it looks like Hauntzer didn't even need to be in the fight. He's going to start pushing topside as TSM knows they can defend 4 mid.
Yep, and it's kind of become a bit more of a split push, not meta, but I would say split push is very strong right now. Part of that is the fact that people want a team fight, and you pull tanks off to the side, you make the composition not as effective. And also, I believe it's inhibitor turrets got about 300 HP removed, and Nexus turrets got 800 to 900 removed, or 900 removed, I believe. So the 2 Nexus turrets are actually 1800 HP less tanky than they were before in 8-11.
I am sorry I'm laughing. I'm just watching Grig take hits and then throw a barrel and be instantly healed.
Yeah.
All the way up to full.
Ooh, Spellbinder for Huhi.
Yeah. Spellbinder for Huhi. He's trying to make moves, get a little bit of that damage built up, and then release!
Yeah, he can also activate it, though, for movement speed, which will give him a better position on his W, but that's going to be Baron going down.
Uncontested. It looks like Huhi won't be able to get in to get too much of that damage down. 3 Ocean Drakes just allowing TSM to stay out and pepper Counter Logic Gaming constantly. The Mountain Drake is going to be perfect for CLG. They're getting all the ones they want. I'm just sure they would rather not have Oceans on the side of TSM right now.
So the last time they got a Drake, it was the Mountain Drake, and they haven't killed a turret since. So
no.
Mountain Drake is only good if you reach structures. So
it's a long-term investment.
It's been ineffective.
If you do it early, you get taxed harder. Come on, we all know this. But see if they go in for that long-term, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But like you said,
because TSM may not let it happen.
That's what I'm doing in life. You're playing for the late game.
Yep. I think we all are. I think we all are.
Nah, I know some people who don't play for the win.
They play for the day as it is. 36 minutes on the clock. TSM is playing for this win right now. As mentioned Weldon a little bit earlier, it definitely seems like the mentality and how TSM is approaching their fights, their lanes, just kind of a situation and being okay. They say, hey, that's a lead. We're okay with that. Back up and get another one. Not this lead can be pushed, but is that greed? It seems like they're really avoiding that pitfall.
Well, I would say a lot of it is the improvement and what you're seeing from old habits being changed because of communication or feedback, where Hauntzer getting pretty much beaten up in that previous matchup, making sure that he's backing up, and they're communicating that, not being frustrated by, hey, this TP is kind of running us around the map, and things like Bjergsen getting a lot of help in mid from Grig here, and the wards that they were placing, like you were saying, from mithy, they're doing a great job there where they didn't have to play through the lane the entire time with Zven and mithy. They allowed Grig to go mid and help Bjergsen out, which did put Huhi kind of even and locked him down from roaming, and it made it so that ReignOver was also pretty ineffective. So I think the mid-jungle duo here of TSM actually did a great job compared to the CLG mid-jungle duo.
Kept a lot of pressure on as well. We mentioned Hauntzer avoiding the pressure topside. ReignOver kept applying, and ReignOver now applying his own pressure. 3 inhibitor turrets almost going down at the same time here. Half health for the top side is the inhibitor being worked on, and Hauntzer is a one-man army on the bot side of this map. It goes credit to the team as well. You have to have a good team on the other side for that split push to work.
Yep, and Hauntzer going to chase Darshan down. There's Blade of the Rune King. Look at that, look at that.
Oh my God, stop the look away! Tanking, that turret is heated up. 7-8 shots, hits the Gnar, stays alive. And Hauntzer just beasts the entirety of bot side and Darshan. TSM are staying for the long haul here to make sure they get that final inhibitor. A nice scout of the week keeps them at bay of Bjergsen with mithy there for protection. A teleport coming back in as Hauntzer says, oh, we're not done. It's time to play with the food. Zven and Grig now for the mid side, and it looks like this might be enough for them. Do they keep going?
Yeah, TSM, they win this. Puts them in a good position for playoffs. Remember, they play the top 2 teams, but they need to show improvement throughout their next 4 games, their last 4 games. But beating CLG gives them 2-0 as a record over this team, as right behind them in the standings. Just 1 game back here.
And confidence going into that game, you said, for TSM is 100 Thieves after this. Biofrost gets hit, Lambert Spike goes down. The focus is going to be ReignOver on the way out of this one. He's still close. Flashes are for safety, not for offense. For CounterLogic Gaming as TSM stands 5 strong in the base with the Nexus open. Turrets going down to minions as CLG is chomping at the bit for one final fight. And it's going to be Grig on the front line. Mithy's shield is up to dodge the damage, and the Nexus goes down with a few attacks from TSM as they continue to look for playoffs.
And TSM put themselves in prime position to make a run here. They play 100 Thieves, Optic, and Liquid. And if they can beat Optic, who's also right next to them in the standings, they can start getting that 6th place spot, righting the wrongs of the split, and showing that they are a playoff team.
Strong play all around. A lot of movement as well from CLG in the early game, trying to make things happen. I think TSM just kind of quietly absorbed it, if you will. They didn't need to use too many resources. A lot of times you can see what I call that kind of nuisance play, where maybe ReignOver wasn't doing much, but he was pulling Bjergsen out of lane. He was causing Hauntzer to leave. And while he was causing Hauntzer to leave, the other side of the map was still accelerating. So sometimes that doesn't always work out the way you want. We see TSM taking that win.
And a much needed win for them too, confidence-wise and standing-wise. TSM had, honestly, a pretty bad part of the split where they were looking at some of the most losses that they had ever had in a row as an organization. And now things are looking up for them as they try to turn their eyes to playoffs.
Absolutely. CounterLogic Gaming as well with a few decisions here at the end of the split to hopefully change their mentality. You know, TSM grabs Weldon. CLG looks to upheave that coach position and throw in right now Goldman at this time, interim coach coming in, but like we said, big shoes to fill, and you can't say, oh, didn't come out with a win here. That's not going to work. There's definitely still work to be done there, and it's unfortunate for CLG. It's at this time of the split.
Big shoes to fill, but also a very kind of nerve-wracking position to be in because now they are on a 7-game losing streak. Right, they could potentially lose half the split in a row and go 0-9 when they were tied for first place back in week 4, where they were 5-3, and it had just been this big slump for CounterLogic Gaming where they haven't been able to find what's been working for them. We've seen them kind of try things here where Huhi on something that can roam, Stixxay on the Tristana, Biofrost on a playmaker, but they're not finding the opportunities as a team to play around their jungle and their top laner and figure out how they want to play the game if it's not off of Huhi.
And this became kind of a very textbook game for TSM, which sounds, oh yeah, that's basic, but we haven't seen them be able to go back to that, where Hauntzer was just kind of hitting the side lane really hard. The team was okay with that and not trying to pressure too much mid. Everything was in unison, and they were able to make that split push from Hauntzer look so all-star. So Avali is standing by now to hear about that TSM win from the victorious support.
Thanks, guys. Mithy, congratulations on the victory. What's team morale and atmosphere like after picking up wins?
Definitely better. I don't think we are... well, we've been struggling the whole split and last split too. So, yeah, for the most part, we're just taking each game as important as it is, and every win is important because, yeah, we are going to make playoffs if we win, I think, one more game. Should be kind of secured. So, yeah, excited for the next 3 games.
And last week we saw the 2 coach on stage change come in. So now you have both Song and Lesboy on stage. How is that helping your guys' draft?
Definitely helps. I can't really say firsthand, like, okay, it's really helping a lot because that's not really true. Once you go on stage, you're supposed to have drafts prepared already. So I just think overall the team is putting a lot of effort. Like players, coaching staff, everyone is just putting a lot of effort. And I think even if we're not having like the perfect drafts in other people's eyes, we are at least playing what we are comfortable with. And that's, I think, the most important thing.
And last week we saw things get a little heated on TSM Legends. You were a little frustrated, I think, with people overruling some of your calls, and you called for a shot calling hierarchy. What would that look like for the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's always having like a camera on you and stuff in these moments where you're like pretty frustrated is at all, right? Because sometimes you say things you don't really mean and so on. But for me personally, I've always tried to just say how I feel, and sometimes like I kind of like come to a conclusion through that, even though it's not the best way, right? And I could do that a lot better. I think that's kind of how I work. So in terms of that exact moment, I don't think we need a hierarchy. You just need to understand each other better and just be more together. And obviously, even if let's say I'm shot calling everything, I will still make bad calls. So it doesn't really matter if there's a hierarchy if the call is not the correct one. So yeah, mostly I think the most important thing, I don't know if it's shown in TSM Legends because I try not to watch the show. So I think the most important thing is that we are more open with each other and we just try to connect with each other by just expressing how we feel in every kind of situation, not just game related, but just anything in general, right? And I think more towards the end of this split, we are getting closer towards that goal.
I think the last time I talked to you, you had mentioned that you guys were aiming to talk less and do more. Have you made progress on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think there was some problems at the start of this split where we were trying to be too coordinated. And I think even in this game, we also had some of those issues. We just won because I think our draft was a lot better. But yeah, that's something we still have to work on, for sure.
Well, Mithy, thank you. And for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm analyst desk and guest.
Thank you, Avali. As promised, we brought
Hello,
Smoothie
guest.
on.
What's up? Wait, they're lying. It says smoothie.
Ruined. No. Thank you very much for joining us, Smoothie, helping us provide some insight on this matchup. A big victory for TSM, again, as they were sitting just outside that playoff picture at the top of the day, very much in the hunt, and a victory here does wonders for them in continuing that run towards playoffs. But top of the day, we talked about drafting quite a bit. And Mark, you even had some thoughts on how NA teams specifically were utilizing Red side of the draft. So I wanted to dive into this TSM draft here from the Red side, as it did net them a victory.
Yeah, I was pretty critical of Echo Fox's top lane pick. This time around, I think TSM did a much better job of securing winning matchups to give them some early game pressure. And that was a big part of what happened in this game and forced some moves out of CLG later.
Yeah, I didn't like CLG's draft, more so because on Red side, TSM, in my opinion, got 3 winning lanes, which shouldn't happen. There's some bans maybe in the second phase you could talk about, like even CLG banning the Fizz, which allows the Syndra to be able to be blindable, little things like that, picking the Trist early, which I think only turns on later. And that's exactly what TSM wants. That's really the only way they've been able to win this year, is if they can just... the crazy thing is they had 3 winning lanes and then they still won team fights in an even gold game. But 3 winning lanes on Red side is unprecedented.
I mean, just to go right back to you on this real quick, just it reminds me of what you said last week, the idea that TSM's identity for so long was about their solo laners being able to build advantages on their own, and then from that state, being able to play the macro game. And so here again, we see advantages built kind of across the map due to matchup, which gave them full control of the game. I want to turn to you though, Smoothie, because for a large portion of this game, there was a back and forth, and CLG was actually doing a number of things from a macro standpoint to keep TSM on their toes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that what Jot said was true. I don't think they liked their draft too much. Like, they had technically 3 losing lanes. I think the Gnar ChoGath matchup's like kind of like even early for Gnar ChoGath, but eventually Gnar just outscales heavily. But CLG used their Tristana's TP advantage to, split the map and accrued like a lot of advantages for themselves early. But I don't know, eventually they just started losing team fights with split push Gnar enemy
See
team.
a couple of those TPs now here. Again, the kind of the difficulty of using, in particular, an ADC's TP effectively, but here they are doing it.
Right, I mean, this is a very old school play where back in the day, if you had a losing lane and at this point Tristana was down 20 CS, you would then rotate your bot lane from base up to the top side and push. With TP, you accelerate that even faster, so they're guaranteed to get this top turret.
And you could probably turn into any CLG post-game segment, and I would say this. I liked what CLG did in the early game. They used the teleport to get first turret in a losing lane. They used the teleport well to shut down Gnar early on in the game and not let him get to the split pushing point. But then they got to the mid game, stopped doing stuff, grouped up as 5 and lost team fights.
Let's take a look at a couple of those fights. First up, 25 minutes in, a replay in the mid lane. You got a split push Gnar, and yet you're coming away with the victories in the 5v5s.
Yeah, I think this one is definitely just a mistake from ReignOver. In this fight, he had QSS and ulti up. I think that, I don't know, the team fighting is really, really hard right now. Their Tristana isn't really spiking yet at all. So they have to use their Kindred ulti really well and be able to kite, but it's just too hard.
And then in this fight, they do get the Kindred ultimate off, but it's on a frontliner who's already dead, and then the initiation comes in after that. Ideally, you would like the Alistar to be initiating as the ChoGath is taking damage, so you actually have a way of following up, maybe even with the feast. And once this happened to TSM, or sorry, to CLG, they really lost total control.
Yeah, it says it in the gold graph right there. Just it was very close game with CLG, offsetting that early game 3 losing lanes with good macro play, but then not being able to convert that into a team fight speaks to a much larger issue, I think.
A 7-game losing streak here for CLG. We did, of course, talk about the fact that they had a coaching change coming into this week. Obviously, it's very hard to determine how much, if anything, a coach affects the end result of a game. But Smoothie, maybe you can talk a little bit about what changes within a team can do, right? We talked a bit about today the honeymoon phase of just the fact that you made a change can sometimes catalyze a team to look at things differently. And I know you're a player who's lived in sub situations.
Yeah, I mean, changes can definitely bring good things, but also bring bad things, and they're still losing. They definitely had to change something. I was really surprised when I heard you guys saying that CLG are 0-7 in the last 7 games. That's pretty crazy to me because when we were scrimming them, I thought they were pretty good, and they were really good at getting early advantages, which everyone kind of knew in the first place. Yeah. But I guess they just couldn't close games.
I want to ask you a question on that because we've had the discussion a few times of what our gut is of what a good team is usually determined by the early game. But then when you look at the standings, it's often determined by how good they are in the mid or late game. 100 Thieves is a team that always comes to mind who's not spectacular in the early game, but they're always top 2. And then CLG is the reverse of this. Do you think there's something to that, or are these early game teams just needing that one little step to show their record how good they are, or is it really just this overvalued trait in a team?
Well, to me at least, when you're doing scrims a lot, you obviously want to get early advantages, and then in scrims it's really easy to close out games because you're really willing to pull the trigger, you're willing to just, fight on a wit's end, right? It's a lot easier in scrims, but on stage, a lot of times you just want to pick the safe champions that just want to scale up and, team fight well later on. Champs like Haisa do it really well in that situation. And I guess Tristana, but I haven't seen that much of Tristana. I think she's okay, not the worst, but yeah, definitely on stage it's a lot harder. Even in our game, I was really scared of pulling the trigger because if the enemy jungler is there at any point, we have no vision. In scrims, I would go for 100%, right? Yeah. Because if I die, then oh man, sorry guys, I'm down. I died. But on stage, you look like an idiot, and you get your team killed. So.
And it goes both ways too, because maybe even you still want to be aggressive, but if the other team is also playing safer, then they're not making as many mistakes, and it's harder for you to punish. And it's interesting that we talk about scrim teams, because 100 Thieves, consistently a great team in the late game, always seems to talk about how their scrims are not going well. Almost every single time I hear about it.
That's a really good point.
Every single time, even today after their win, it would look dominant, and they're Afro's yeah, really happy to get that. Scrims have been tense and frustrating, and it's again? But you guys are second place team.
Right. I want to find a way for teams to get better mid-late game practice that isn't just based off years of LCS experience. Like right now, it feels like that's the only way you become that good like mid-late game team.
I mean, do you do anything to try and combat that within your practice? Is there even a way? Because I understand the idea that like, well, I can only learn if I try as well. So sometimes being aggressive is how you find the answer to a question. But how do you get to a place within a practice setting to say, guys, let's be real. We never play like this on stage. We got to stop practicing that way, or we have to start playing this way on stage.
Well, I mean, for me, I think it's mostly a product of like other teams playing bad. Honestly, like if they're playing bad, I have to punish it no matter what, right? And then like I'm never gonna go like 10 kills in scrims. Like it's not like any bot lanes is 0-10 in scrims, and that's never gonna happen on stage. But we think it's gonna happen like at least somewhat like that. But yeah, it's really hard to combat it just because like just player error, and sometimes you're unfocused in scrims, like you just wake up, you know. So.
Yeah, and I also just had a thought of just the way League of Legends works. Like every game starts at 0 gold and then branches out into like a million different possibilities.
Right.
And the later the game gets, the more unique that situation becomes. So like you get the most reps from like 1 to 5 minutes.
True.
That's because it's more controlled every single game.
True.
But the later the game gets, the more complex it gets. I guess that's why the guys that have been playing for 6 years are the ones that are best in the mid and late game.
Yeah, I mean, first 15 plays, as they call it in football, you script those first 15 plays out to establish like what's going to be working for you the rest of the game, and it's kind of similar thing in League of Legends, I think.
All right, well, I was happy to get wrapped up in this discussion, but Smoothie, I got to thank you. In order to get to a break, up next, Optic Gaming hopes to hold on to playoff positioning as they go against Team Liquid. Meet us here for Game 4 after the break.